Let's go for it!
Hey there, everybody, it's me, your buddy Dave, the host here of the Dark Stuff channel on YouTube. Thanks a lot for checking in with today's video. You know what time of year it is, end of year. We're going to do the top 20 albums of 2020. And like last year, I'm going to do a little sort of video presentation of 20 through 11, and then I will rejoin you for the top 10.
Dark side of the moon
that I've tasted, all the drinks that I consume. Return the smile. Much better goes to the middle, and don't you remember? Every night there's
wait for your reply. If I don't hear from you tonight, coming down. Didn't I know?
So before I get to the top 10, let me just offer up just some general commentary on the year, on 2021. I mean, it did seem like we were going to get back to normal, like the pre-pandemic days, by maybe late summer of this year, and it didn't quite get that way. Artists were still canceling tours. Some festivals were down at limited capacity. Me personally, a couple of shows I was very much looking forward to in August and September ended up getting canceled, and who knows, I think they're going to be rescheduled into summer of 2022 or something like that. But, you know, we're all trying to sort of dip our toe back into the world of, you know, regular life, and unfortunately, we're just not there yet. Live albums, greatest hits, box sets, none of that stuff is included in this. This is just strictly albums, studio albums released in the year 2021.
Here she comes. You better watch your...
So coming in at number 10 is the newest solo album from Bangles lead singer Susanna Hoffs. Now, if you watch my channel, you know how much I love Susanna Hoffs. I've been a Bangles fan since 1984 when I first heard their first album All Over the Place. I saw the videos for Hero Takes a Fall and for Going Down to Liverpool. And I've just loved them constantly ever since that point. You know, since the Bangles broke up originally in 1989, I mean, they are back together now, but when they originally broke up in 1989, since that time, Susanna Hoffs has only released 3 solo albums until this new one. This is the 4th. It's called Bright Lights. It is a covers record. And Susanna Hoffs has really become a great interpreter. I mean, I just love her voice. I mean, I could hear her sing pretty much anything. So obviously cover songs and interpretations of other artists' material has been a big part of Susanna Hoffs' career. I mean, that version of Hazy Shade of Winter by the Bangles, monster hit for them, really just reshaped the song and did it in a different way. Manic Monday wasn't really a cover so much. I mean, it was written by Prince and given to them, but either way, you know, they didn't write it. So as far as some of the covers she does Nick Drake, she does Chris Bell from the band Big Star. She does Badfinger, which is the track they do, Name of the Game, also has Amy Mann doing backup vocals on it. She had a good record this year, by the way, but it didn't quite make my my top 20. My two favorite songs are probably Take Me With You, which is her Prince cover, and Femme Fatale from the Velvet Underground. I mean, that, and of course, I really like the You and Your Sister. But those would probably be my favorite choices, and I just really love this album. The only knock that I can give on it is that it's not made in a physical form. It's just online only. So it's kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. Enjoy it while you can. It's a great new album from Susanna Hoffs.
I bite my tongue, my mouth's full of blood. I bite my tongue.
Coming in at number 9 is the newest album from Juliana Hatfield. It is called Blood. That's technically the back cover there, but great artwork. I love this. Okay. Blood is Juliana Hatfield's 19th solo album. She is one of these artists that has never stopped producing music. She, in addition to those 19 solo albums, she's also done stuff with the I Don't Cares, which is her band with Paul Westerberg. She had a band called the Minor Alps with the singer of Not a Surf. She had a group called Some Girls, which featured Frida, the original drummer from her old band, the Blake Babies. Of course, the Blake Babies didn't count on that 19 albums. She's the bass player, backup singer on the Lemonheads' It's a Shame About Ray, their absolute biggest record. So she has been busy for the last 30 years, like heavily. And she's gotten a lot of attention lately, not in like a nostalgic sense, but because she's doing these cover records, one by The Police, where she reinterprets a bunch of Police songs, and another one where she did Olivia Newton-John, and they're great. And I've been talking about those records and her original stuff a lot lately. Every release she's been putting out has made it into my top 10. So for Blood, she's now doing, this is sort of like a dark take on modern society, you know, about how people are just so shitty all the time. And great songs are like Mouthful of Blood or Suck It Up or The Shame of Love, you know, Torture. These are the names of the song. And the sort of dark subject matter is countered with this really light, upbeat, very catchy music. And the juxtaposition is just really, really great. And apparently it wasn't like an intentional thing. It just kind of worked out that way with Juliana Hatfield, because she said that, you know, she was writing these songs that they're a reflection on the fact that there's so much anger and negativity in the country, in America, the last, 4 years. But then musically, it just seems to be sort of more fun and on the lighter side. So don't be fooled by the happier sounds. It's a pretty dark record from Juliana Hatfield.
But I feel the beat sometimes when I run into the screen door at the retreat, trying to learn the new lines.
Coming in at number 8 is this album here from Kiwi Jr. And their album is called Cooler Returns. Okay, this is released on Sub Pop. Here's the gatefold there of the CD. Now, this is their second album, I believe, and it's got like a really, really classic indie sound. You can tell that these guys have listened to, some 90s stuff like by Pavement, maybe Archers of Loaf. There's also like an obvious REM kind of influence, and maybe the Feelies, maybe Big Star. Maybe XTC a little bit in the early days, like the early XTC, when they were like a 4-piece kind of new wave-ish sort of band. The album is just fun. There's not a dud track on the record. It just kind of burns through really, really well. I would say if you're a fan of some slightly more contemporary bands, like maybe, Vampire Weekend or the Shins or whatever, that this is something that you definitely might like. I mean, personally, I like this Kiwi Jr. better than I like Vampire Weekend or the Shins, but that's just me.
Microphone in my hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I wanna.
Coming in at number 7 is the new album from a Los Angeles duo called Broken Baby, and the album is called Late Stage Optimism. And the duo is this guy, Alex Dazin, I think is how you pronounce it, or Dezin. And he's a guitarist and producer, multi-instrumentalist, and the singer is this woman named Amber Bollinger. Now, if you watch a lot of obscure sci-fi, you might know her. She is a working actress in Los Angeles, has done movies and been on TV series and stuff. And I think there was sci-fi series called Listening that apparently she was a big part of. I'm not familiar with the show. Maybe you are, and you would know who she was. But the reason why that's relevant is because a big part of the lyrics in her songs are a lot of venting, because being a female actress in Los Angeles, trying to get into show business or whatever, or being a working actor in LA, she has to deal with a lot of sexism, a lot of crap, a lot of bullshit, and this is her way to sort of get all that out there, and like scream therapy or something, And the music is kind of like a good mix of sort of 90s, more mainstream alternative stuff, like not indie rock like I usually talk about, but a little bit more of your 90s radio stuff, and a little bit of Southern California punk. It's real edgy, and it is fun, and it's kind of upbeat, and the lyrics show that not only that rage that she has about being pissed at the whole Hollywood scene, but there's also a good sense of humor. There's a song called Madonna's a Dick that's really funny. Get the Piss Up is good. Manic Panic is my favorite song off the record.
Follow anymore, so I'm running up the score, and I'm not selling out.
Coming in at number 6 is the newest solo album from Dean Wareham. It's called I Have Nothing to Say to the Mayor of LA. Catchy title, yeah. So Dean Wareham, for those that don't know, and I can't believe you watch this channel and you don't know this, but in case you don't know, okay, was the leader, the singer-songwriter, frontman for the bands Luna and Galaxy 500. Now, Luna broke up probably about 2005 or so. Now, they're back together in a live formation, but they don't really write new music. So Dean has a project with his wife, Britta, who used to be a member of Luna in the latter day period, the last couple of years of the band. And so they've done some records together. But really, the only outlet for Dean Wareham new music has been 2 solo albums. The album, the music is really, really good, and it feels kind of like latter day Luna. I mean, albums like maybe Romantica or Rendezvous or something, the 2003, 2004, 2005 period of Luna, which I love those records, and I like that one with the matchbook with the closed cover before strike. Anyways, okay, I'm going off on a tangent. So that's kind of the feel, it's got the Dean's sort of Lou Reed meets Leonard Cohen kind of delivery, a little spoken, a little singing, whatever, and the guitar still has that great sort of Velvet Underground, Lou Reed kind of feel. And again, I'm such a fan of this guy, and it's so rare that he's putting out new music and original songs. There are some covers too, but mostly original songs that it's exciting when it comes out, and it's great that it's still at this top level. And maybe that's because he doesn't put out stuff all that often. I don't know what the secret is, but Dean Wareham, I Have Nothing to Say to the Mayor of LA is number 6, and it's fucking great. So coming in at number 5 is Dinosaur Jr., Sweep It Into Space. This album was originally supposed to come out in 2020, but they held it off because of COVID, and they wanted to be able to tour in support of the record, because that's the way old school bands like Dinosaur Jr. Still work records. They go out and play it live. Unfortunately, they still didn't really get to do too much of that, because Dinosaur Jr. was one of the bands that their leg of the tour that was supposed to come through Omaha, where I live, was canceled. So unfortunately, even though the new album came out, a lot of people got a canceled tour. It's been rescheduled for next year, and hopefully that does happen. Fingers crossed on that one. So since Dinosaur Jr.'s original lineup of Jay Mascis, Lou Barlow on bass, and then Murph on the drums got back together in 2007, the band has done 5 studio albums of original material. If you're familiar with Dinosaur Jr.'s sound, you know what you're going to get. It's loud guitars, it's catchy songs. On this particular record, Jay co-produces the album, Jay Mascis co-produces the album with Kurt Vile, who himself is a current artist. He's done a lot of great stuff. And Kurt even plays a pinch of guitar on the album. Now, I don't know how good a guitar player Kurt Vile is. He's good. but he's no Jay Mascis, so there must have been a reason why Jay didn't do the guitar part. I really don't know. But the album, while retaining all of the normal Dinosaur Jr. stuff, is in certain places kind of toned down a little bit. It's not just the, when it's time to turn on the guitar solo, it's kick on that fuzz and just, go crazy. It's a little bit more subdued. It's a little bit more poppy. And I might have thought before I heard this that I wouldn't like it that way, but God, I love this fucking album. I mean, it's so, so good. So, you got I Ran Away, I Met the Stones. What are some of these other songs that were so great? Garden, I think that's the Lou Barlow. It's one of the two Lou Barlow songs. Take It Back is really good. And Say, I Ain't. Really, really good stuff from Dinosaur Jr. Another Stone Cold classic. Maybe, and this is debatable because I'm really hyped on this new one right now, but I think this might be the best album they've done since they got back together in 2007. Is Butterfly 3000 from King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. And if you take a look at the album art here, you will see and kind of understand what kind of band this is. They are trippy and out there. They're Australian. They generally get called like psych rockers or psych pop or whatever, but I feel like there's just so much more going on with this band. First of all, they are insanely hyper creative. Since 2012, they've released 18 albums. And this isn't even their only one of 2021. This is just the only one that I heard. And so it was so good that it made number 4 on the countdown. So, I was reading some reviews and things about the band, and it was like, okay, they called them acid rock and psychedelic pop, garage rock, neo-psychedelia, doom metal, all sorts of stuff. This new album, I would say, has all that stuff, maybe not the doom metal part, although I've heard earlier records of theirs that did have, elements of weird metal. But this is just an all over the place, spastic, amazing pop record. Lots of keyboards and synths, but great guitar and all these other things too. From what I read, the lyrics are sort of environmental a little bit, and that's kind of a big theme with theirs. I honestly, this is one of these bands, and I'm a big lyric guy, but this is one of the bands where I don't really focus on the lyrics because the music is so all over the place that it's kind of hard to even hear the vocals sometimes. You hear them literally, but I focus so much more on the music with these guys. Just incredible playing and not boring wankerdom, which I don't like that shit, I don't like ultra musician music because I just feel like it's just designed to impress other musicians and it doesn't have any real appeal to people who just like music. That's not the situation with King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. This album is fucking fantastic. And just a little side note, if you are into drugs, and I'm not saying you should or shouldn't be, I'm sure this album would be enhanced by taking some. I don't know, just a thought. I'm not telling you to do it.
Throwing five in a cat. You and me, everything I had.
Coming in at number 3 is the album Somewhere by the Austin, Texas indie band Sun June. Now, the album came out way at the beginning of the year, and I remember when I got this CD as a promo for the radio, I listened to it. I thought, yeah, this is pretty good, and I played one of the songs, maybe Everything I Had or something, once or twice on the show. I put the CD on the shelf, and then I honestly kind of forgot about it. Got caught up in a bunch of other stuff. When I was reviewing records for this, I usually start off at 50 and whittle it down to 30 and then whittle it down to 20. And when I played this one, because I was pulling all the cool stuff from 2021, it blew me away. I don't know why I didn't connect with it initially, just thought it was okay, and now I fucking love it. Life is just different that way. It's funny, maybe back in February I wasn't ready to hear it, but in November, December, I absolutely was. The sound is, very melancholy. It's kind of folky, country tinged songs. The singer, Laura Caldwell, has this beautiful voice. it just makes every single song just a joy to listen to. She's really, really good. I think she writes all the lyrics, but I'm not 100% on that. But the lyrics are good. They're thought-provoking. They're not trying to beat you down with anything. You know, and the band is really, really tight. They are quiet. They are kind of mellow, but they have this intensity. And every now and again, it will kind of build up, you know, to this heavy point. And I think a good comparison is maybe if you're a fan of Sharon Van Etten. Her music is like that too. It's usually kind of mellow, a little sad, a little dark, and then at times it just builds up into this really intense thing. And I love Sharon Van Etten, and I think Sun June, if you're a fan of Sharon's, you probably are a fan of this too. So next on the agenda is seeing Sun June live, because I really have a feeling that intensity would really come off well in a live setting, and I would really like to hear this woman's voice in person. So number 3 is Sun June, Somewhere.
I can be. They say that time, it is the only certainty. But it's been
Okay, coming in at number 2 is Jubilee from Japanese Breakfast, and like the last record, the Sun June record, when this one initially came out, it didn't grab me. This was at the beginning of the summer, maybe late spring, like May or something is when I got the CD. But it's on Dead Oceans, and so I always give their stuff a chance. Even though this is the 3rd album from Japanese Breakfast, which is really the stage moniker for this woman, Michelle Zauner. You know, she is Japanese Breakfast, and then she brings in different musicians. It was almost like she was a new artist to me. So since she is on the Dead Oceans label, I'm a little bit more inclined to like it, to give it a try. So I was definitely going to give it a try for the radio show. And the suggested song was this song called Be Sweet. Now, that's a great song, but it's really catchy and upbeat, kind of synthy and whatever, and great chorus. It sounds more like a mainstream pop song. You know, that's not necessarily what I go for on my radio show, and so I sort of said, okay, well, I like this, but maybe this isn't the right thing for me, and I shelved it a little bit and returned to it when I started reading all these cool things about Michelle Zauner and Japanese Breakfast. So I saw like a Tiny Desk concert that she did, which I think was earlier and maybe from her previous album, but I really enjoyed it. So the previous Japanese Breakfast albums lyrically kind of dealt a little bit with the loss of Michelle Zauner's, the loss of her mother, and that's also, she wrote a memoir and was sort of about dealing with that. But that's not the subject matter on Jubilee, so it's a completely different kind of album, and maybe that is what the more upbeat sort of feel is. So when I re-examined the record after reading so much about her and listening to some interviews with her and stuff, and she just sounded like a really interesting and creative person, the record hit me again. It was like, okay, now I get it. And especially the final track, which is called Posing for Cars. It's like 6 or 7 minutes. It's got great, cool guitar on it. And that was the one where I stood up and I was like, oh, wow. There's a lot more going on here than I gave it credit for just from hearing the song Be Sweet, which, by the way, love the song. It is great, but it's not what the rest of the album is like. The album is more upbeat, it's joyful, it's a way of sort of contending with how crappy and shitty the world is right now. And it's like, how do you have that sort of upbeat atmosphere, upbeat way of doing things when things around you are so overwhelmingly negative? And I don't know, I don't have the answers to that, but Jubilee was one way in the last couple of months that I've really been dealing with my own sort of version of that. It is a fantastic album. I'm gonna now start delving in to the other Japanese Breakfast album, which I didn't realize I had, and then look into her first one after that. But Jubilee is the one for my number 2 album of 2021.
But time square keeps burning. There's no switch to turn it off. We're holding on to something.
So you probably could have guessed by now what my number 1 album was going to be if you're a fan of this channel, and it is the new album from the Knuckleheads, Age of Isolation. Now, a couple months ago, I did a video, a quick one, just telling people, like, please go get this record. Okay, go to their Bandcamp page, download it. All you have to do is it's name your own price. Just please go get this album. It is that good. If you give a crap about what I do on the channel, give me this one. Okay, I never beg people to go get something, but that was what I did on the album. And I've done other videos about the band besides that. I did a long form interview with Adam Elk from the band, and this album just hit so hard when I finally had the time to really devote to it. It is an album about the experience of living in isolation. Now, what's really been happening in 2020, which is when the bulk of the album was written, it was when everybody was kind of cut off from everyone else, and we weren't interacting personally very much. Everyone was trying to keep contact to a minimum because we didn't want to spread this disease that was going on, and there were no vaccines back then. So it was very isolating. And doing that and being stuck at home all the time and living like that with the only connection to the outside world in a real way being what's on your phone, social media, watching television, stuff like that. And it does have an effect on your personality and your beliefs, and it can even make you a little bit crazy. And I think that's a big part of what the album Age of Isolation is talking about.
Liked is better than rejected. Shamed is better than ignored. Before we get
Musically, the songs are, the normal Mommy Head sort of stuff. It's like a little bit lighter kind of indie rock. It's got, I tell people that, like, as a reference point, maybe if you're into Death Cab for Cutie, you would like Mommy Heads. I do always point out that I personally like Mommy Heads better. But really, I don't think any artist, at least not that I'm familiar with, has really captured the feeling, the zeitgeist, the whatever, the way that this way of living that we were experiencing in 2020 and really the first half of this year, the toll it takes on people and the thought processes that happen at the time. I don't think anyone else has really written an album like this, and that's why this is so unique and so good. So another unique thing about this is these guys started in the late 80s. Okay, now there was a 10-year break in between, but we're talking 30 plus years as a band, and this may be the best thing that they've ever done. And that's unique for bands with really long careers, because usually the best material is their first material, and this may be a serious exception in this case. I mean, I still am playing this album constantly. I've had it now for a couple of months. I don't usually, again, I don't go out on a limb and say, please go get this or whatever, but I'm doing that in this case. There's a reason why it's number one. I'm not kidding, okay? It's the best album of the year. So thanks a lot for watching till the end, everybody. Much appreciated. There is a podcast of this if you want to listen to a little bit longer form descriptions and hear songs from each album. The link is below. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.